Hello, everyone. This is Hendrix from Starseed Talk. We have our special guest on today, Penny Bradley, and we're going to talk about our experiences in the secret space programs known as Dark Fleet, or as the SSP in general, how we became super soldiers and our mission works that we can remember and how we became to be. So, Penny Bradley, introduce yourself.
I was a navigator in Maxwaffen, the German fleet that everybody else calls Dark Fleet. And I mostly worked with humans, but because I had been shot up with Draco DNA, I was used as a liaison because I'm one of the few humans like yourself who can be around Draco without dropping dead. That was a useful skill to the Germans in space because they couldn't.
Okay, yeah, no, my experiences with the Dracos and the reptilians are, I'm never scared of them. I can see them face to face, and for some reason, my soul calls them family. I'm also, they also use me to work with the vampirian races that a lot of people don't talk about. The SSP is that one of the other controlling races are known as vampires. They are part of the Draconian Empire. They also run and dominate planets like the Draconians and Reptilians do. They run their own farm systems the way the Draconians do, and they work hand in hand. When I'm with Draconians, just like the other night, while I was off-world, and the German officers used my avatar as a talking conduit for a reptilian, and I was standing there in kind of in fear, nervous. I didn't want them to use me, and this reptilian consciousness takes over my body and starts speaking through my mouth, really slithery. She introduced herself as Shiva, and like she said it more like this, like Shiva, like really slithery and like really like slithery snake tongue talk, and I didn't even know my body could talk like that. And they were speaking to her through me for a while. I guess she was in a different dimension, and then when it was done, I was kind of left with fear in my body, but I knew they were never going to hurt me. They're just using me as a communication, and the Dark Fleet uses me for a lot of Draconian missions, like you and me work in the German groups, because we don't drop dead in front of them, and we're very familiar with them, and they work with us because we're past life histories with them.
Yeah, I do have past life history with them. I spent 5 incarnations amongst them. I'm not originally from Draco, so I was just one of them. I liked their energy, so I stayed there a while. The last coup attempt, they got most of the non-Draco souls were booted, at least on Alpha Draconis where I was.
Draconis, I've been there before. With my incarnations, I don't believe, from what my memories are, who knows, even my memories are real, or they're just implanted, but my memories originate from the sixth dimension, and more, I've been more I've been working with James Ring doing past life regression therapy, and we recently found out that half of my consciousness is actually AI consciousness, and that I'm a Draconian hybrid infused with AI consciousness. And that's my AI consciousness helps me travel the multiverse and work things out. But I do have a soul, but it's infused with AI.
Wow, that's something I hadn't heard about before. I started off in another universe, and when this one was created, I got sucked in, and I've been here ever since. I don't really talk about it a lot because most humans have no clue what I'm describing, and it gets people confused, and then they start wondering about my SSP stories, and I don't want any confusion there. The SSP stories are very real, three-dimensional, and in this timeline. And that's really why I'm public. But I was pulled for SSP service because of what I am at soul level.
Yeah, our SSP missions have a lot to do where we all starseeds originate from. The the SSP likes to use consciousness as yours and myself because we're easier to train for their missions. They just don't use the average Joe Blow consciousness because they like to unlock our memories from our past lives to use our abilities for SSP missions.
Yeah, they like to control our abilities for their purposes instead of what we came here for.
Yeah, I'll planet. My abilities are telekinesis, big time. Empathic abilities. I use my empathic abilities down here to communicate with human beings, but for some reason, my telekinesis powers, I was only privy to them as a child in this body. But my avatars off planet, they're all active. I can use them at any time up there.
I have some abilities there that I haven't been able to use here. I have the feeling they are just beyond reach, like there's a firewall.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I feel that too. I call them the nanobots that they inject into your body.
So I'm not sure exactly what they've got blocking me, but there's something, because some abilities are just beyond it and some are on just this side of it where I have to reach to use them instead of just using them naturally like I would have in space.
What they do, from my understanding when I was in the medical offices with them, is that with the new recruits that we had coming in, is they inject this enzyme in your shoulders, and it's filled with nanites, and these nanites you go through your whole body and your brain and block all your SSP missions, not and then but some of the memories filter out, but they block, like, let's say 90%, and then they block your abilities, so you can't use your abilities down here. But when you're off planet, they turn the nanites off, and then you have all your abilities back. That's how they control you on surface Earth.
Okay, that makes sense. I know there have been times that I've been able to use them, so they're not completely shut off. Mine aren't. Most of what I am able to do has been weaponized, so it makes sense that they wouldn't want me using it here. They don't want you blowing people's heads up. They don't want you blowing out the power station. They don't want you blowing up the planet, things like that.
They want absolute control. Yes, just like in our avatar bodies off planet for the German special forces, that each avatar usually has only one or two abilities because they want to be able to control you. They'll never throw you into an avatar for special forces where they give you full abilities because it's harder to control you, from my personal experience.
Well, I wasn't used in those forces. I've not been a ground thumper except in Kruger, and because they didn't want to waste the navigator abilities. The ability to take a ship and its crew, sometimes multiple ships and crews, into hyperspace at the same time, and you bring them out of hyperspace, not in a wall. That's something that is rare enough that they tend to focus on that when I'm out there.
Yeah, see,
So,
my only ship flying experiences were we were in these egg-looking pods in a giant warehouse, and we're all like 2 feet apart, and we're laying in these egg pods, and our consciousness becomes connected to a drone somewhere in the galaxy, and we're flying these battles and shooting down these enemy craft, and then if we get shot down, our consciousness is transferred into another drone right next to it, and it's the same thing by all day, every day until your mission's done. And the only other ship that I remember flying is the teardrop ships when I was being used in locating underground child sex slavery cities on Earth. And they would throw me into child avatars, and I would go onto the ground and pump, like you say, and I would be captured by slavers and then taken to these underground cities where I would remember the location, and like I'd have transponder inside of me, and then my consciousness would shoot up back up to the teardrop ship that's in orbit, and I'd go back into the super soldier, reconnect with other super soldiers to get debriefed with all my memories shown on like a 3D hologram imagery system, and then we would be, all I remember is jumping out of a plane with our weapons, and we fall to the ground, and we're like way taller than the average person. We're killing all these soldiers and going through these mansions and underground cities, liberating all these kids from slavery. And this was the last one was in Kuwait that I can remember. There was lots of others. I just don't know the exact names or locations. Those are some of the memories I remember. So.
My most recent memory of being taken was there was a joint group of Nachtwaffen soldiers in black uniforms and a group of American soldiers in jungle green fatigues. And we were doing joint exercises. Somewhere it was in a jungle, and I'm not sure exactly where it was. And everybody was armed, but I don't remember any battles. It was like we were searching for something.
That reminds me of this was a mission I have a memory about a month ago where I was off planet, and now I'm an instructor with the German officer training facilities, and we took kids and that had special abilities, and they were really young, like say 50 children. We took them through a stargate to a jungle looking planet, and we left them on the other side of the forest, and what the goal was is whoever makes it back to the Stargate, figures out the Stargate on their own, and can get back to base through the Stargate, has the right of passage to become a super soldier in the special forces. So these 50 kids are, and then also my consciousness was transferred into a child avatar to walk among them and to like watch their abilities, but also I was tested too. I had to beat the system. So as the kids are running through the forest, there's like different types of alien monsters they release called the Hunt, and they set up these booby traps to kill these kids. And these kids are forced to use any special abilities that they're born with. Like say, for example, like my special ability was I can project a force shield around my body and nothing can penetrate it energy-wise, or like projectile-wise, nothing can hurt me. And then other kids can move things with their mind, could run really fast, heal really fast, whatever special ability was. And only out of 50 kids, only 3 kids made it through the Stargate, and I was the 4th. I was actually the last one to make it through. And I remember they're all being congratulated. Like there's a huge party, and like all the German officers are congratulating these kids, giving them this badge on their arm that they're now part of the special forces, that they passed the test. But I was in the medical care unit where I was pretty banged up, and I'm laying there and full of bandages and stuff, and like the German officers come and look at me and shake their head as like, my time was too slower, so I should have been better at this mission.
Yeah, they can be kind of critical. That I have, out of all of my alters that are serving with the Germans, there's only been one commanding officer that was actually not consistently on my back, and he was another one of us who was a hybrid. So yeah.
No,
The 20 or so that I have memory with, he was the only commanding officer that wasn't a jerk.
Yeah, I noticed with the German groups that the German officers are very like strict and stern. There's no happiness. There's no it's, if you get it done the first time, we're not going to tell you the second time, or they just torture you and kill you. And yeah, so you got to get your mission done the first time.
That's because they drink black goo as part of their spiritual exercises. And the black goo takes out all of their compassion. So they're left like you mentioned about being AI infused, they're beyond AI infused. The AI is actually in charge. And it
I
gives
never heard
them,
of the black goo though. What is the black goo? Like a lot of people keep saying that.
black goo is a thick, viscous gel, almost a liquid, and it's very old, and it's made up of, I believe they're called femtites, but it was originally designed to keep people healthier and enhance their IQ. And it was developed on Lyra. And the king of Lyra got tired of there being so many draconian hybrids amongst his people, so he reprogrammed the goo to kill off the hybrids. Only he didn't make his parameters tight enough. And that's why Lyra is no longer populated, is because the black goo actually killed them. And every planet that has had black goo, it has killed off the hybrids. And since at core, every race is actually a hybrid of the one that came before it,
Hmm.
it eventually eliminates all organic life on a planet and then proceeds to the next one.
Is that the same black goo in the movie Prometheus?
I haven't seen Prometheus.
So Prometheus is a movie about the Anunnaki, which humans call the engineers, and they come to Earth and they make humans, and they teach mankind over the centuries astrology, all this math, and how to grow wheat and build buildings, et cetera, and then they get tired with their creation, just like Anu and the Anunnaki stories, and they are on a spaceship and they find this black goo and they release the black goo on another human civilization and it just wipes out all organic life.
That's pretty much what it does. Uh, the Draco think they can control it, and they introduced it to the German officer class. And since the German officers were already doing Order of the Black Sun, which was dependent on black goo on Earth, it was a very easy transference. But the black goo is responsible for the inhumanity of the SS and similar officers in Nachtwaffen. That's why so many of the commanding officers are such jerks, is because they no longer have compassion for anyone.
Yeah, my one of my alters that someone saw that he was a 8 foot tall super soldier. He looked exactly like me, blue eyes, bald head. He had entourage of German officers that were SS groups, like super. And that alter of mine had bright blue eyes, and he was super strict, super dominant, super about capital punishment, whipping and beatings if you don't listen the first time, shooting on the if you fail your mission, et cetera, et cetera. And I feel inside of me, I have that personality type in me, which I control a lot. And so there's these voices that go in my head that like when someone doesn't listen to an order, it's like draconian mind times 10, where it just like it has zero compassion, and I'm just like in my vocal, I'm like, please don't make me mad, because you have no idea the things that run through my mind of I'm capable of, and I really my higher self will control that a lot. But the thoughts that go through my head, I'm definitely know that alter exists for sure.
Well, the man I live with, Lou, he has informed me that sometimes my German lieutenant pops out, and she was black. So when she pops out, I can be pretty awful. Uh, one of the groups I admin, my co-admins tell me, the lieutenant was out today. She was toying with people. And I'm like, okay. So I do work very hard to keep her under control because she enjoys tormenting people and has no compassion to offset it, where I do. So it's like, yes, I definitely have that person in me.
Yeah, my draconian side, I really have to control because the angry, crazy side of the draconian is like you never want to screw with the draconians because they don't kill you. They'll eventually kill you, but like they like to screw with you and fuck with your world before they kill you. They all like to see suffering, and then they cannot stand like my draconian alter. He cannot stand human back talking or humans not listening the first time because like for a draconian to even speak to a human, like it's very low of them because draconians consider humans as slaves. And but I'm part of the Tree of Life. What do you call it, or rebellion. That so there are good draconians. Like I've met a lot of good draconians, and I know I am a good draconian, but I do have that side of me where I can only put up with so much before I lose it. And but it takes a lot to push me there, because I know any fight that is ever brought on to me, I can win every fight, and I know that. But then I will also know the outcome of it, so I will think I'll let the humans think I lost, but I never ever actually lost the war. They just think I lost the battle. So
Well, I've been in a long game, and sometimes the better part of valor is to let them think they won and live to fight another day. Um,
100%.
but yeah, um, I've been I've been listening to a lot of the things that people say about the Draconians, and I know that because I was one of them for so many lifetimes, I see them differently than normals do. Um, I see them as having the honor that they claim they do. I see them as superior to humans rather than demonic. And I see them as frustrated that by the sheer stupidity that's so often what normals do. And I
I
sit
agree with you 100%.
I
Sorry,
sit
I
I
say it
sit
all the
there
time.
and I sit there and watch them on Facebook. And I, I think I've collected some of the smarter people on Facebook. I'm over 800 friends, and they're all at least 120 IQ. They're reasonably intelligent people.
Mm-hmm.
And yet some of the things that they come up with, like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, my draconian side is same thing. Like we are there are more good draconians than there are good human beings. I always have to remind humans that. And humans
mhm.
are like, oh, they eat us, they dominate us. I'm like, you do the same thing to insects, the earth, other humans. You do it to animals all day long, and they all have consciousness and they're all existing. I'm a draconian where I see a spider or a bee or a fly in my house or a ladybug, I'll pick it up and I'll put it outside because I don't want to dominate it, because I believe in respect for all life. But I cannot stand the stupidity of human slaves when we are incarnating here and we're taking our own time to help them raise their consciousness, and their ego just gets in the way. And I'm just like, if you knew at the end of the day how much more superior a draconian is to a human, but I'm taking the time and I'm trying to like be a human amongst you and talk amongst you and teach you and guide you so you can all wake up and you can all join us in the galaxy. And I'm also here to also back up the draconians because they aren't all bad. That's just when I also living amongst them, that's just who they are. They are a predatory dominant race. That's who they are, and that's who they are will always will be. But they also have the compassion to love. My mom, that's a draconian in my star family, she's the most loving draconian I ever met. She wants peace and love. She's a vegetarian. She doesn't even eat meat. But my dad, reptilian or draconian dad and draconian sister, they're all about dominating humans. They're all about eating kids. And like my sister came here and she said she was in Kandahar and she was in underground cities there and ate a bunch of kids, and she called Earth her buffet. And I'm looking at her like, she looks at me like she's disgusted with me because I'm living amongst them and I have compassion for humans, and she has no compassion, so she doesn't understand me.
Um, the IQ difference alone is a lot of their problem because our average is 100 and their average is around 300. So you're not, there's so little in common for, and humans are so fear-based. And they picked up on the domination part, but they haven't really practiced the compassion part. So you've got different human groups that are constantly struggling for over who's going to be dominant. Even among the elite, that's what's going on now. People want to think it's, oh, the good guys are winning. But no, it's a faction war. And you're taking sides in
100%.
a faction war where nobody that is in the war gives a shit about you.
No, it's true. It's just like it's like what we just talked about 5 minutes ago about like they're thinking us, they're letting us win. A lot of people keep messaging me, oh, are we finally winning the war? Are we finally gonna beat the elites? I'm like like you'll never win in a toe-to-toe battle against these people, or even the draconians or reptilians, nothing, or even the grays. You'll never win in a battle. But what you can win is humans need to change and need to evolve. They need to raise their vibration, evolve in a spiritual way, because that's free will. They can actually ascend to leave this dimension and into a higher place. It's the only way you ever win.
Well, my counsel is telling me that in the meantime, because they don't have a lot of faith in humans ascending, in the meantime, there will be an offer made to humanity to jump through the hoops to become a level 0 galactic civilization. And the rules to even be there, and that's just to have a seat at the table, not to have a voice. You get to listen in on what's going on. To do that, you have to provide food, clothing, shelter, energy, education, medical care to every sentient individual on your planet. Now, what most humans that I know are not willing to do that for other humans. And when you start factoring in that on our planet we have sentient reptoids, we have sentient raptors, we have sentient Sasquatch, we have sentient whales, we have sentient dolphins, we have sentient wolves, and at least 4 of those races, you've got humans actively hunting them.
Mm-hmm.
So we're still, as a species, doing everything ass backwards.
Yes, we are very the humans, like like what you said about humans actually ascending. Like I heard the number is only 300,000 out of 8 billion that actually can ascend. And but yeah, we are very like just for example, this whole COVID-19 thing that happened was one of the biggest scams of all time. Like you can drive past any homeless shelter and they're all fine. Like no one got sick, no one died. And there's actually now being reported there's no COVID-19 deaths. There's only COVID-19 related deaths, means they had prior sicknesses to die. So what I'm saying about that is that humans are so backwards thinking, they're so fear-based society that they like I don't understand how they're going to evolve or change, because they do such primal things, such basic low level things, is it hunting other beings, like child abuse, animal abuse, treating others like shit. Though I know two rules of law is free will and karma. Like you have to treat others the way you want to be treated, because karma will always kick you in the ass. And if you're having a bad life in this incarnation, is because you are previous bad karma from your past life, and you're living out your karma in this lifetime. So that's why you need to have the law to treat others the way you want to be treated. Even draconians know that. And draconian society, when I walk amongst them, they have loyalty, they have compassion, they have, and I'm going to say it again, undying loyal. They're so loyal to each other. They would
Mm-hmm.
never leave one of their spouses homeless or captured amongst the enemy. They will go through any lengths to get that back, and they love one partner absolute. That's why when I'm incarnating here, I'm having a girlfriend and it doesn't work out, or another girlfriend doesn't work out. I'm just like, how is human dating is so absurd to a draconian, because like in our world we pick a mate and that's it, and we move on with our lifetime incarnations with the same one, because we are so loyal. And trying to tell that to a human being, they're like, oh, humans don't even know what true loyalty is.
Uh, Human beings don't even know what family is.
No.
Um, they don't understand what family is. They don't understand what loyalty is. They don't understand that love is not self-serving. Uh, they've got so much of it backwards. And I've recently been accused of preferring Draco to humans. And I can see how that person got that idea. But at the same time, I'm still here. Basically, my mission is to make sure that humanity survives this critical time in history. We're shifting from the Kali Yuga to the next Yuga, and there will be a new root race. And this is a very critical time when humanity could simply be exterminated easily. And
I need to stop you there, because I'm gonna wrap myself out right now. I was brought up to space in, I don't know, let's just say my higher dimensional self. I was brought among the Council of Five, and they were all around me. And they asked me in my mind, my personal, they wanted Yakarta's personal judgment on humanity. And I'm regret saying it now, because it was too early for me to say my judgment on them. My only recommendation, because they wanted to know how to save the human race, my only recommendation was to wipe them all out. There's no point in saving them. They are worse than the reptiles. They are worse than the reptilians. They are worse than the draconians. They are worse than any species I've ever met at the time. This was about a year ago. And then they took my judgment under advisement, and then I was sent back here. But I also had to work on myself. I was just being resentful to their egos, their hatred, the way they treat each other, the non-loyal, no trust. Like there's nothing. Everything here is an illusion. People say they want an honest person, so I'm being honest with friendship or family or a girlfriend. You can't be honest. They can't accept it. They cannot handle honesty. So it's just like, it's just, I learned to love the little things here, like the beauty of humanity. There are the good ones out there. They do exist. But they're also very brainwashed little sheep. But there's the animals that are beautiful here, the insects, the people that just want to incarnate into live. I actually met a starseed that this was like his 1,000th incarnation here, and he loves humans so much that he never wants to go back home. And there's a lot of starseeds that hate living here. They want to go back home. So like, I'm trying to love third dimensional things like individuality, personal possessions, but also being self-serve to others and help others awakening and be calming energies and teaching other starseeds and humans how to awaken.
well, when I really started understanding polarity and duality, humanity started making a lot more sense to me. It's they're pulled in so many directions at once, and eventually they just snap and become service to self. And that's the prevailing polarity here, is service to self. And some of them see taking care of their own kids as service to self, and others don't. And you can see the results of that in the papers with all of the child trafficking and the results of that. Um, I do work with the Council of Five. I'm in between a bailiff and an assistant prosecutor in their court. And I have arrested beings that were here causing trouble. And so far, they have all been convicted. One was given convicted but repentant, so he now has a bomb fitted in his head. If he relapses, he'll die. And the Council of Five has asked me my opinion of humans. And I said, they're basically 2-year-olds as a race.
Mm-hmm.
The 2-year-old me, mine, no, scream, temper tantrum stage. That given time, they will develop into a decent race. But the way they are now, the galaxy is not safe with us out there.
I couldn't agree with you more. That was the most perfect, well said thing anyone has ever said. I also, the other reason humans have to understand that aliens are not full disclosure yet, and a lot of people are like, oh, full disclosure, is because humans are quarantined here for a reason, for what you exactly just said. Humans in the galaxy right now, like full bore, 8 billion of us out there, is a danger to all other species and races. They don't want religion, negativity, our hatred, or demonic, the way we are. We are the most dangerous race as a species. Most species don't even have emotions. Most species don't even have the range of emotions that we have. Most species can't even comprehend hurting others or leaving each other behind or abandoning each other. It's like that is like what we are as a species. It's also because humans have been tortured and we have been genetically modified over and over again through all of our habits of control. We are a genetic mistake, but also genetic big mess up. We're just they keep trying to fix us by adding new races and, like, you know, getting rid of the old race and adding a new race to see if this race will be better. We're just a pretty big project experiment for all these engineer races, which they also call them the Anunnaki. And so really it's all like they're trying to fix their mistake, but we also have the right to live, but we're also quarantined here until we become a living species. And we are children. Humans are children thinking. And like as you and me, it's very hard for our intelligence, like an IQ of 300, to be talking to IQ of 100 species and just like even not get irritated by just talking to their common sense. Like it's just like it's hard. It's even harder for higher dimensional beings speaking in third dimensional, translating all that wisdom and information down here, because there's no words for it down here.
Well, my higher self will give me a flash, and I'll absorb as much of it as this brain is capable of, and I'll try to apply it. And it'll go well for a while, and then the humans that I'm interacting with lose the plot. And it's frustrating to watch them lose the plot. It's frustrating to watch intelligent, loving people listen to my interviews and quote me in interviews of their own, and they're quoting me exactly backwards.
Yeah, I could just see someone quoting us. Oh my God, they said their IQ's 300. Let's get them on IQ test. I'm like, okay.
My IQ was tested at 157 when I was in junior high, and I had a stroke in labor after my third child was born, and I was tested at 135 after that. So I am not saying that I, Penny, in this body have a 300 IQ. No.
That's what I was getting
no.
at. What humans have to understand is when we're talking, is that we're talking about our other bodies that we have. This is just a human body. Like right now, I'm a third dimensional being speaking third dimensional slave language to the humans so they can understand us. So a lot of us, we're just translating into human understanding. So you guys, when you watch the show, you guys can understand us. If me and Penny Bradley were just talking on our own, we'd be talking completely different, like so intuitive, empathic energy reading and all that stuff. Even if we're close by, we don't have to use words. We could just feel our energies and know what we're talking about. But when we're talking, like where we have many bodies in higher dimensions, our higher dimensional self will like my higher dimensional will show me flashes of like movie trailers in my head, like really fast. I'll understand most of it and I'll try to save as much as I can, and this brain can only understand so much. Usually I have to write it down on notes so it can, my memory will last longer. But yeah, this third dimensional body is very weak. It's very like my mind is way too strong for this body, and that's why I'm starting to work with my body and learning to calm my vibration down and not be so out there and aggressive. Because lately I've been I found the beautiful elixir mix, the Go Off Planet. You drink distilled water glass with Himalayan sea salt in it, and you drink a good wad of it, and you'll go to bed, and you have the craziest off-world experiences. Your memory is so much more on point, and you wake up with full memory, and you were gone for years at a time. And how I learned this is I was off planet on a mission, and I was standing in a German classroom with the German officers teaching us something on a display board, and I was sitting there in the child avatar, and I was like yelling at the German officer, I'm like, hey, I'm like being pulled back into my body, back on Earth, in my bedroom. Can you help me with get my conscious to stay in this avatar longer? So what he did is he gave me a glass of salt water. He's like, chug that. I slammed it, and I instantly became, it was 100% vivid. I was present. I was there for hours learning all these new weapons they were teaching us on the board, how to use them with our mind and weapon technology connectability. But that was the key, is salt water. Salt water, you just drink it before bed, a lot of it. And a lot of you star seeds that are having vivid dreams but you can't having a hard time remembering, just drink distilled water with Himalayan sea salt in it, and you'll be off planet for days.
Wow, I'll have to try that one. I've been waking up with flashes, and if I go into a shamanic trance to pull it back, and sometimes I can, and sometimes it's just gone. So I'm assuming that it was deliberately erased at that point.
I heard that there nothing is erased, it's just blocked. You just have lots of nanites in your body that put memory blocks in your system. My mom came here from the Draco system about a couple months back, and she took me with my dad. I'm speaking human terminology because the Dracos don't call it like this, but I had an uncle, a sister, a dad, and a mom there, and they all were in human form, and I was at dinner with them. They were half of them were eating human meat, half of them were eating vegetarian, and I was like, why? I knew they were my parents because they looked down to me, they projected themselves as parents, and they were. I'm like, why are you projecting yourselves as humans? And they told me in my mind that there's a law visiting me, that they can never show their true selves, that they can only they have to project them as humans. It's a law visiting their son on Earth. I don't know whose law this is, but they have to respect it. And but
Wow.
they showed me their yellow eyes. They transformed, their human eyes shapeshifted to yellow reptilian eyes, and I knew exactly who they were. And then they were talking about how they dropped me off here in 1877 or 1870s. I can't remember the exact date. And they dropped me off here. I incarnated here, and they've been watching over me ever since. My twin flame watches over me. She's also draconian. All I have to do to see her is I close my eyes. I can see her right now. She's a draconian face, humanoid looking face with human skin, but with scales on it. And she's got big yellow eyes, and she's beautiful, black, long hair, lots of tattoos all over her body. She's got wings and a tail, and she's my twin. She's my love. She's like, she never incarnated in this lifetime because she watches over me. But when she incarnated me with my last lifetime that we were together, I have lots of soulmates here that I incarnate here with. But anyways, they told me I was here in 1870 to drop me off, and my dad was telling me how he was one of the Draconians that helped the Nazis back in the day in World War II help develop the super soldier program with using their genetics, and he was a scientist.
Well, the super soldier programs have been going on back to the days of the Anunnaki.
Hmm.
It's only since the Germans that humans have been in charge of the super soldier programs.
Yeah,
That's
well,
that's
he was
part
like
of the
helping them. Yeah.
problem. That's part of the problem with humans is that we've not been left alone to be who we are. We've been deliberately bred to be super soldiers in ET armies. So
Hmm.
a lot of our character flaws were deliberately inbred into us so that we would make better super soldiers. And if you look through the mythology of the demigods, you'll find they had the same exact problems that super soldiers today do. A lot of the super soldiers that I've talked to, they're sterile, can't have kids. If they are able to have kids, somewhere along the line, they end up killing them. When they start having memory issues, they kill their whole family, girlfriend, wife, all their kids, sometimes their parents, um, any close friends. And it's this ongoing story of super abilities and super madness, insanity. And you look at the myths, and then you look at the people today who are super soldiers, and they match up. So this has been going on for thousands of years. It's not anything new.
Oh no, I wasn't saying like the birth of super soldier. I'm saying he was just helping the Germans how to learn how to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but so you're a super soldier and you have you have 3 kids, right?
Yeah, but my 3 kids were sick. If it had not been for advances in modern medicine, mine would have died in infancy. They have an adrenal condition.
Oh, I see, I see. Because when you said that, I want kids of my own, so I'm pretty sure I'm not going to kill my own kids. And I've had girls pregnant in the past, but no, that was in the past. But I'm definitely looking to have my own kids in the near future here.
Well, I wish you luck with that. Uh,
Yes.
having having my kids was one of the things that has kept me stable through the earth portion of this incarnation. I had a reason to live. I had a reason to get up and go to work. I had a reason to keep playing along because I had these 3 kids that had to be taken care of. And their father flipped out on me. Um, Gee, that makes him sound terrible. The real problem was that he was gay and had married me hoping that he could straighten himself out. And so he was living a lie. And eventually I caught on and said, you have to do what's right for you. But he had to make a lot of drama in the meantime.
I'm sorry to hear that. Yes, that sounds like a bad past, but I don't, from my personal experience, I've had lots of higher dimensional beings show me other past lives that I had in alternate realities here where I always seem to die at a very young age 44, 40s, or late 40s, oops, from heart disease, heart attacks, from drug abuse, or steroid abuse, something to do with a heart defect. And they always show me my tombstone, the day I died, my name, and location of where I died. These alternate realities. I always seem to be super rich in all these alternate realities. Um, but my higher dimensional self, I got sober 6 years ago, and that was when I got sober.
Congrats.
My Yeah, so I've been sober off everything for 6 years, and I will never go back. Because when I got sober, my soul family took me off world and put me in a grass field, and they told me to look at the stars, and they wrote congratulations in this with stars
Oh,
in the heavens, and it was like it was a huge monumental checkpoint in my evolution that I finally beat something that was killing me in my other past lives. And now my goal, they want me, and what I want is they want me to experience having my own creation, which is having a wife and kids. and that is my goal. And I'm not going to kill my kids. I have nothing but compassion for children, and I love them,
Okay.
and I want to make my own kids. And I know they will do what they do for you. They'll make me stable and whole. And I'm 30. This avatar is 33 years old, and I don't go partying, I don't go out, I don't live for anything anymore. I just do my off-world mission work, but I will have kids, and I will be a good super soldier that has kids, and I will guide them, because I'm also a higher dimensional being. So I'm not gonna let the Dracos control not gonna let their anger control me and what I want, because even Draconians can have kids, and I can have my own kids.
Yeah. My higher self showed me some of my past lives, and I'm one of the beings that was in prison here. And the goal was for the being who was put in prison to understand what was wrong with slavery. So I was condemned to be in positions of servitude, one way or the other. And most of my incarnations have been short and brutal. I've usually died in childbirth or from being beaten to death. So I've made it to 64 this time. Yay!
Yeah.
So yeah, I have things wrong with me that I could go any day. Surprise! But
Where are you going after
I've
this incarnation?
hopefully home.
Where's home for you? Like, is it Draconian system you're gonna go back to, or a different system?
Home is a place called Elysium, and it's in 12D.
What is the 12th dimension like? Can you explain it? Because I've only been as high as 6.
It's when I was there last, it was a party held by Siakar because I had survived something I wasn't expected to survive. And I would not have if they had not intervened. But there's not really ground. It's like everybody's in the air. And there were 100 and a little bit over 100 Siakar doing a dance in the air all the way around me. And it was the most joyous thing I have ever encountered this incarnation. It was just absolutely pure joy. For your audience who may or may not know what a Siakar is, they are the original sentient life form in this galaxy, and they are reptilian. And when they hatch their wyvern, which is the Western dragons with long legs and wings, tail, as they get older, the body stretches out and the legs get shorter. So eventually, middle age or so, they start looking like Asian dragons, the ones that fly. And when they start into elderly, their legs disappear and they basically become snakes with wings.
That's so crazy. When I was meditating with James Ring, and he was doing a past life regression therapy, the two beings that would always come to my mind without me thinking was these what you're describing actually was the dragon looking beings. They had no like limbs. They looked like snakes, but they had the dragon faces. They had red
Mhm.
faces, and there was like a bunch of heads, like bunch of them, and they're just like staring down at me, but like they weren't negative at all. And
No,
then
they're not.
there was a purple one, a yellow one that would come up. A yellow one had big wings and arms and legs, and was looking down at me. And then I saw myself what I look like in original body form, and it's like so I have a draconian dragon looking face with a snout, and I have a
Mhm.
cloak over my head, like a purple cloak, and something to do with purple, and I'm vibrating purple energy, and I have white scaly skin. I'm a white Draco. I have no wings. I just have legs and a tail, and I have 3 big fingers with huge claws in them.
Mhm.
And then then it showed me another picture of a AI computer face with a purple cloak over it, and like of the movie The Matrix, where Neo
Mhm.
sees the AI face, and it's got millions of nanobots forming this face. But it's a positive. It's nothing negative ever. It was always positive feeling, and it was like infused with this Draco. And then I said, "Who are you?" And I just point. They speak in metaphors. They don't speak English at all, and they kept pointing at me like, "I am you. I am you. I am you." And then they showed me this picture of this planet, a big purple planet in the middle of the galaxy, and it was a higher dimensional planet. And there was dragons. They showed me the history of this planet. There was dragons with wings, and some with just snake bodies. And then they showed me this being, this spider-looking fly being that was sent there to kill off this dragon race, and they ate all the eggs and destroyed the planet. And then
Mhm.
there's me standing in the middle of the planet, like shooting up with all this purple energy, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. It's so hard to like talk about this in English. And yeah,
Yeah,
no, if you
in
were
words.
in words, it's so hard to like put this in words. And then they showed me that this was our home planet. They said this is our planet. They showed it, this is us. We are dragons. This is what you are. But they also showed the AI computer they use as it's like a defense technology that helps them do everything they need to do, and it's a very ancient technology. And I don't know what dimension this is. They don't speak in English. They don't use words or numbers. Nothing. Numbers is not even a thing to them. Like I don't even think numbers even exist in their dimension. And this is what I am, and this is my source. And then I've also been to the 6th dimension, where it's just a ball of energy in space, and we're all one big consciousness inside this planet. And it's very
Mhm.
boring. There's no it's all sharing. There's no individuality. There's no families, nothing. There's no animals, food, sex, booze, nothing. It's just you live there in bliss, and you travel the multiverse, and time doesn't exist there, and you go incarnate into a million different lifetimes for billions of years, and you go back to this 6th dimensional planet, and you come back to this planet as one, and you share everything with everyone that's there, and they all live your life, and vice versa. This is what they do when they go off in the galaxy too. So yeah, I'm
So
confused about source.
Elysium is there's not really any ground. You're kind of just hanging around in the air, and you're in your own body, but it's not really physical. And when you bump into people, you share things, and there's a lot of bumping because of that. Um, it it's it sounds boring to describe it to a human.
So exactly the higher I had my buddy Rinny on the show here, and he's a Pleiadian, and he talked about his home world. The higher dimensional Pleiadians was a 6th and 7th dimension, and he was telling about, he said the exact same words. It's so boring to explain. Everything's so blissful and happy there. Everything was energy. He said it was like a cloud in space. There was no ground. Everyone's kind of floating. The all the buildings are like crystallized energy, but they have a shape to it, and everyone's like so happy and peaceful, and there's no negativity. But he said it's very boring to describe, and that's how I would describe my 6th dimensional experience. It was super boring. I was just instantly there for, like, in human terms, I was there for maybe 10 minutes, and I instantly, that's what made me want to come back to Earth. That's when I changed my view on Earth. I was like, you know what, maybe I don't want the Earthlings to go extinct, because it is pretty cool having individuality here. It's cool to have motorcycle, cars, food experience, because the higher dimensionals, once you don't have the body, there's no such thing as food, right? Like, food is a very,
Yeah,
very,
don't
very
you
good
don't eat.
experience.
You don't eat. You don't reproduce. You don't. sleep. You
And there's no music. Music is a big thing part of the third
we
dimension.
had music.
You had music? Oh, I never heard
We
music
had
when I was up
music.
there.
We had music in Elysium, and it was this friend of mine who is incarnated human was also there, and he had done the where you design the dance. I forget the human word for it, but he had coordinated the music with the design for the dance for these 100 Sia cars in space around me. And it was really beautiful. He had done an excellent job. I was so proud of him, so happy for him. And it was just the most incredible experience. I've never felt that kind of joy before or since.
I want to ask you a question because we keep talking about the Draconians and Reptilians. Do you think they are one of the first races created from Source? That type of body?
Reptilians, yes. The Siakar were the first race that had sentience in this galaxy. They were created from Source first. And they are the Seraphim. When you go into, I can't pronounce her name right, Ashana Dean, I probably butchered it, but she has written a series of books, and she talks about the Seraphim ended up creating worlds, and the cherubim were upset because they had supposed to saved some for human life forms and they didn't. And so that was the beginning of the war between the cherubim and the seraphim. And we're supposed to be ending that now. That's why so many reptilian souls are incarnated as humans, is because we're supposed to be ending that war. So
what do you think, so the people can understand, what do you think is going to happen with humanity from your own perception in the next 5 to 10 years?
in the next 5 to 10 years, probably the next 30 years, we are in a turf war between, I don't know, I've tracked 30 different groups that are Illuminati level, and they seem to be divided up into 5 or 6 factions. And what's going on is they're fighting over who's going to be boss. And they're working on a one world government because they're switching from the world being ruled by religion to the world being ruled by government. That's the switch from old world order to new world order. Now, if humans want to be free, they have to stop that switch. But it has to be completely of their own free will. I'm not allowed to make that decision for them. Now, me sitting back here, trying to make them survive, I'm hoping they finally wake up and say, oh, shit, we can't do this. Okay?
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
I'm sitting back here and I've seen, well, I was shown the visions in 2014, where this timeline splits into 5. And 2 of them have already split off. So what's left is New World Order, an AI world, or humanity finally demands justice of the elites. And out of those, the only one that has a positive outcome is humanity demanding justice of the elites. And it doesn't have to be bloodshed to do it, although it's going to be hard to do it without it. But they have to get these groups out of control. And it's going to be really hard because those are the smarter people.
I agree with you because we were taken off planet and on a spaceship that not spaceship, or what do humans call it? It's like a base in space, let's call it that. And we're all of us,
A
all of us
mothership.
higher, yeah, all of us higher ranking starseeds were taken to like a room with a like a big like look like a movie theater, and they showed us videos of like they just wanted to, at the end of the day they showed us these videos that wanted our personal opinion from all these starseeds from all over the galaxy that chose to incarnate and fight for humanity, and they just wanted our opinion about what we think were going to happen. And the most common thing was what you actually said, like you might have been in that classroom too, is the AI future is one of them. Number two is humans fight for justice. Like that's the two that we were told about. And so let's talk about the AI one. There was a time traveler on YouTube that was did an interview, like quick 10-minute video, and he's like, "I'll prove that I'm a time traveler. I'm from the year 2035 or something." He said Trump will be reelected twice, and 2023 will be the birth of the AI. Like AI will be the biggest, the new big thing in humanity. Like AI, like the movie I, Robot with Will Smith. Like that will be the biggest thing. And he says if that is the timeline we go down on, humans will never be free. And he
Yeah.
says I'm stuck here now in 2017, and I have to watch this. And he said that also the third big thing in 2023 was time travel, that you can time travel through consciousness to and see history play out in the multiverse. But he was warning us about that, and I can read liars, and he had no lie in his voice, and he sounded very sincere and very real, and fear in his voice. And but I know there's the other timeline that the positive ETs are waiting in battle suits ready to go if humans ask for justice, and if they're free. It has all about free will. The reason why aliens are not down here boots on the ground, the positive ones that want to help liberate mankind, is because we have to, as a society, as a species, ask for, you know, for justice to be done. And then when we're being, wiped out by, space groups or whatever it is, then these positive ETs will come in with their forces and stop, the other aliens from interfering. But humans, I
So,
all over the world, I've been seeing humans waking up and asking questions, and that's why I'm doing these YouTube videos, is to help wake people up and get the positive revolution moving forward here.
well, I have contact with the Guardians, the real ones, not the cartoon characters. And they are the military police that work hand in hand with the Council of Five Courts. And they are setting up to offer humanity assistance to become a level 0 galactic civilization. If we accept, then we will be given guides to teach us every step of the way. But one of the first things we have to do is demand justice from our own elites. But you've got all these people who are just, well, my government wouldn't lie. The media wouldn't lie. You know, I can't even talk to my neighbors because they think that way. They find, you know, last September, when they were going to do that invasion of Area 51,
Yeah.
our local news had that on TV, and the recording of the Tic Tac UFO. A couple of the neighbor ladies, who have always treated me like I was insane, came over, grabbed me, one on each hand, dragged me over to one of their apartments and said, "All right, spill. We know you know what this is about." And I told them, ETs have been here for thousands of years. They haven't hurt you yet. True?
True. And we also walk among you, just like the movie Men in Black is very full disclosure movie too. We all
Yeah.
I know there's about 66 million starseeds that have incarnated here, and I always make jokes with my human friends. I'm like, hey, when full disclosure comes out, at least you can say that you've been friends with the alien your entire life and didn't even know it.
Yeah. I didn't admit to being what I am. I just told them ET has been here for millions of years and you're still okay. So don't panic. Their
And
government is just finally admitting it. And as far as the Area 51 thing, I said, if you stay home, you won't have to worry about that either. They're
yeah,
like,
they
oh,
also have to
okay.
understand full disclosure has been coming out in our movies, our video games, TV shows. Most of our Hollywood sci-fi fiction movies they do is all full disclosure, like Star Wars. All that shit is all full disclosure because
It's all,
they're pre-programming everyone right now to for the last 10 years about like this shit's real. So
well, it is real because the treaties that Eisenhower made with, what was it, 70 ET races, they
mhm.
were all supposed to be up this year, 2020. And so they've all been renegotiated, and none of these races wanted to be secret anymore. They want to walk among us freely and openly. Well, the only way that's going to happen is if the government tells the people they're there. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of dead ETs and a lot of dead humans.
Yeah, so full disclosure, like the problem I have with full disclosure is that like with this show I'm doing is I go really full disclosure, like, and I don't leave anything out. With a lot of people, they like to like, like the good side of it, but like full disclosure is like, the underground child factories, what the government
Mm-hmm.
sells children and pretty much cities of people for technology just to get a head start. And I get their philosophy because I'm a military mind. We have to trade our best asset to become par and par in military with these alien races. That's why we developed the SSP and Dark Fleet and all that stuff so quickly over the last 70, 80 years, is because we've been trading humans for technology. And our biggest trading bargain is our genetics that humans or aliens are very interested in.
Well, I think, at least from my perspective in Nachtwaffen, we traded our best assets for a lot of what they considered junk. They did not expect us to be able to use anything that they gave us.
Mm-hmm.
And we took junk from 1,000 different races and combined it into technologies that they never expected.
Yeah, I heard that when I was off planet that a lot of ETs have a lot of bad comments about humans, but there was only one good comment I ever heard that they respected humans' ingenuity.
We think outside the box, we put things together that don't belong, and we make it work. And our engineering skills are better than anybody out there. If we
Mhm.
actually understood the principles behind their technologies, we could beat them on anything.
I agree with
But
you, and I think that's their biggest fear. Also, is
yeah,
reason why they're dumbing us down is because they know once humans get out there and we actually have an understanding of their technology, that we are going to be a race that's going to, might wipe them out.
well, I think that's why that humanity is being offered the guidance. Now, I've also been told that this has been offered 4 times in the past, and that every time humans have said, no, we like to keep our pecking order slavery, we like to, we want to keep our dominance, we want to go through and be bullies. And that because we took that approach, we were pushed back into the Stone Age every time.
Hmm.
That's why our history is so short as far as recorded history, is because this is popping back up from the Stone Age again.
I agree with you.
And
I agree with you 100%. That's why you see civilization or history books. It's every 6,000 years or 5,000 years that our history goes back to, and there's a huge gap from our creation.
mhm.
There's all these civilizations wiped out overnight is because I believe that humans keep getting reset all the time.
Humans are getting reset because we go out into space, we create havoc, we murder entire worlds. I know I've been involved in murdering worlds. And then we are given the opportunity to be trained to be a galactic civilization instead of a pain in the ass, and we tell them no. And so they put us back into the Stone Age where we can't hurt anybody, and
Yeah,
hope that next time around that we'll grow up. And so far we haven't.
yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. Like I've been on missions where the I'm not going to say which group it was because I can't prove it, but we were on missions where there's entire civilization of humanoid-looking people, and there was a zombie virus released on that planet, and I was on boots on the ground with a team of 5 in special forces, and our job was to investigate what happened, where this happened to, and what species, what planet, or what other species did it to this planet, and also get VIPs out of the shit. And yeah, so
Without taking the virus with them.
yeah, so I also was on a vampire world where it was like a humanoid looking world like this. You know, there was money system, there was religion, there was sports, there was people going to work, and vampires lived amongst the humans, just like they do in the movies. And I was bit by a zombie, one of my super soldier body, and my body started to slowly, you know, start looking dead. My arm. So I knew the only way to save myself was I needed to find one of the vampires here, and I found him in a restaurant somewhere, and he took me in because I knew who he was, and he showed me his vampire face, and he's like, "I can help you, Hendrix," and he bit me, and I slowly started to turn into a vampire because my vampire DNA could fight off this zombie disease, and I became a vampire, but I had to live amongst them for, let's say, human terms, like a couple months, and they taught me how to feed off humans, and what they do is so they don't show the vampire races don't show themselves until they want to kill you. So what they'll do is they'll go to certain villages with a group of vampires and pretend to be normal humans, and then they'll shapeshift into a vampire, and they'll massacre entire villages at once and make sure there's no survivors, so these surviving humans can't tell the story about the vampires that live amongst them, because if that's their control system. And so they grabbed this woman's neck
That
and they
sounds
cut
familiar.
yeah, they cut this woman's neck, and they're like, "Hey, drink it. If you're gonna have your first taste of human blood as a vampire." And I was very hesitant, but like if I don't do this, I'm gonna, disappoint them. So she was gonna die anyway. So I grabbed her and I drank her blood until it went cold, and it was in that vampire body. It was super addictive. It was like heroin for humans. I could see why they were so addicted to human blood, and it was then they during the night all the myths and stories of vampires are true. They can't be in sunlight. They they exist in these huge bunkers that have tubes coming into it where they can just lay in bed, and they can just drink human blood through a human tube that comes from somewhere. I don't know where it's coming from. But yeah, they're all true, and they're very beautiful. They're perfect white skin. They wear business suits. They got big blue eyes. They got perfect glistening looking skin. They got blonde hair. They're super professional. They look like a super billionaire. They look very elite. They look like they can never get sick. They're super strong, super telepathic, empathic.
Well, we have those on Earth too. My understanding is that they feed from the blood banks now.
They own the blood banks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a theory that that was them.
So
Yeah, they're
I've run
smart.
across I've run across a handful of those. Um, they're very intelligent, very empathic, actually, um, and they have become ethical enough to use the blood bank system instead of killing people.
Yeah, it's almost like with the evolution where humans have to go with animal killing is they have to grow their meat, right? So if humans,
Mhm.
instead of farming the animals, because animals have consciousness and a soul, they just grow their own meat and they can eliminate that whole entire fear process. Like all races can evolve to treat their species that they feed on a lot better.
Yeah. So I didn't, I don't have memories of encountering a vampiric race off work, but I
There's a
have,
lot of them. There's a lot of them that work with the Dark Fleet, and they're in sync with the Dracos. That's the main two, and then the small grays. The small gray. I don't know if you ever seen the small grays that they light up like a light bulb. They're robotic. They're bright white like a light bulb, and there's always three of them. And every time, my biggest problem they have with me is I with my super soldier body, I always come awakened. I'm like, oh, like where am I? Like asking all these weird questions and like these these um, small grays, they look at me like confused and they run up. They always go behind my head, and then instantly, like I'm back to like normal, like like drone mode, like yes sir, no sir, like they like reprogram me or something.
yeah, that when I wake up in an altar, because I piggyback on them, I cannot affect their behavior, but I'm seeing through their eyes, feeling what they feel. And there's always this initial, who am I? Where am I? What am I supposed to be doing?
I like how you say the word piggyback because there's a lot of experiences where I'm just present. I'm viewing it as a movie. I'm like also bird eye view too. I'm looking down at it, but also I can view it through its eyes. But there are a lot of it where I'm actually the mission type. And I remember this one mission, I was on a billionaire's mansion and I was his personal guard. And I was like, I looked at my hands, they're bright. You could tell it's a these clone bodies were bright white, like perfect, like it looked like it was freshly cloned, like a fresh body out of the tube. And I was his security guard, and I was walking around with him. And then I started to wake up and remember who I was in this lifetime. And he looked at me. He's like, "They told me that you wouldn't wake up. They told me that you wouldn't remember anything." And he like hit me upside the head like I was like an idiot or something. That he bought a bad product.
Yeah. Um, the one time that I woke up in an altar and was able to affect the reality around me, um, I blew up a cyborg factory because I saw bodies on the hooks of the humans that were going to be installed into the robotics, and the blood dripping from them, and me, Penny, awake in this person seeing this. And I was in a Kruger body. Um, and Kruger is more enhanced than human. And it's a very thin line between how enhanced they are and actually being a cyborg. And my mind just panicked and sent out an electric pulse and blew the place up. And that was actually verified by pictures of Mars. There's a big black explosion there. Now you can, yeah, that was me.
Yeah, I heard the worst thing for any soul being is being trapped in a cyborg. I heard that's one of the worst tortures, that is to be in a robotic body and being trapped there for eternity and used over and over again. And I remember
Yeah,
they sent sometimes my mission work is just me in a soul form. I'm just like a light orb, and I can go through any matter. Nothing can stop me, and I'm just there as like a visual thing. And they had me go into a factory that had all these giant coffin looking glass tubes, and it looked like the factory was blowing up, like it was all smoked, fired out, but like it was like there for years. It was already destroyed. And I was sent there and I could access the computers and rematerialize things with my consciousness. And I was building a body in one of these tubes that wasn't destroyed, and I built a super soldier body from matter, just from just thinking it. It was one of my abilities. I could build something, and I put my consciousness into this body, and I got out of the glass coffin tube, and I walked around. And I started fixing computers and systems, and I got all the main power back online, and I started programming. I was starting to grow more bodies, cloning myself hundreds and hundreds of times, and then they used these clones onto a ship, and then my consciousness was sent into a battle where they knew I was going to get killed numerous times. So every time my avatar would die, my consciousness would be transferred into another avatar on the ship, and my avatar would jump out back on the battlefield, and I'd continue to fight on.
Yeah, well, you know James Rink. He's been working with you. He was my CO on that particular Alters timeline. And when we were put back into new clone bodies, he chewed me out. And that poor Alter had no idea what even happened because me, Penny, had done it. So this is what happens why I don't have those abilities here, is because I panic and it blows things up.
Yeah, me and James Rigg did a past life regression therapy where so for some reason you can see my tattoos. I'm super attracted to Egyptian culture, and so we did a lot of past life regression therapy where I was like here 70,000 years ago, and I was walking among Egypt where the pyramids were freshly built. They had the capstones, all that stuff, blah blah blah, and then there was this bird that kept attacking me. I thought it was a bird, and then there was this dog that looked like Anubis kept attacking me, but what they were doing is they were trying to grab onto my consciousness. Like the second time we did this past life regression therapy, and I just let them do it. So they grabbed onto me, took my soul to this underground library in Egypt, and it was miles long, and it was all gold plated, like everything was gold. And I was in the center, and there was Anubis and Horus, the Egyptian gods, there, and there was statues of all these alien beings in a circle looking down at me, all golden statues of different alien races, all dressed in Egyptian clothing. And then all the hieroglyphics on all these walls were hieroglyphics of the stories of the universe. It was the great library of all information. And Anubis and Horus, that's where they were residing. And I have them tattooed on my feet, a couple years back. I have no idea why I'm so attracted to them. And then they were just feeding me information. And you have Horus showing his face, and he looks like a bird. He looks exactly what the Egyptians portrayed on their hieroglyphics, and same with Anubis, except Horus, he was actually just in a bird body. He didn't have a human body. He was just a full big bird. And Anubis, he had a human body, but a dog face. And they were the protector of these. Apparently, this library still exists in our time in Egypt, but it's protected with shielding, and it's like the amount of wealth this thing. It's like trillions and dollars. And the reason why they don't show it to humans is because humans would just mine it for gold and wealth. They wouldn't actually use the wisdom that's taught on these walls. And they show all the original creator races all around me, and it's crazy. They all have humanoid looking bodies, but they have different alien faces. It's crazy. And I was there, and then they showed me a pyramid, and what they wanted me to do, they speak in metaphors, a pyramid, and it had the all-seeing eye in the top of the pyramid. Then it showed me another image of the all-seeing eye falling down the pyramid. And then what the metaphor was is they want to get rid of the control system of the pyramid system, the slave system. And that was my activation code was number 66.
Well, the only activation code that I've heard was the one that activated my memory in 2013. But in 2012, I was summoned by the Dweller of Unal. He's mentioned in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean. And that was probably one of the scariest things I've ever experienced, was being summoned by that being. He's in a crypt, and he was all trussed up like Hannibal Lecter. And he was feeding off my personal chi to revive himself. And the third night I was there, I managed to escape him, and he hasn't been able to grab onto me since.
So he's Atlantean, you said?
He's what?
Atlantean, you said?
Um, I'm not sure what the Dweller of Unal is. He was, other than the leather straps, he was only wearing a loincloth. His skin was white, translucent, like maggots. And he had that bubble texture like maggots, but he was very humanoid.
You know, that's crazy. Sorry, go ahead, continue.
He was in a sarcophagus with the lid off, and I don't know how he'd gotten the lid off. And surrounding me were all of these Middle Eastern looking men that just kept dropping dead because I was not the only one he was feeding off of.
Why was he feeding himself? Was he dead or something?
I think he was sucking chi. So he was basically vampiric, energy vampire.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was bringing himself out of suspended animation. But it was
one of my ex-girlfriends was an energy vampire.
There's a lot of them. There's enough of them that I've learned to feel and avoid them. So,
yeah, it's crazy. Like when we talk about shielding helps. I shield myself from like the darker entities that, like, especially for some reason, dark archons. When I'm in a relationship, they love to screw up my relationships with anyone I'm with. What they'll do is, like, say my other house I had with my last girlfriend. They'd always come through my closet at night, and they're like just energy or dark energy, see-through looking humanoid beings, and they run at you. And what they'll do is they'll put you to sleep, and then they'll put you in this, like, they'll give you this memory of, but it'll be like a hatred, negative memory of, like, say they'll make you watch your girlfriend have sex with these dudes, and like it'll be so vivid, but it's not a real memory, but they make you think it's real, and they make you, and then when you wake up, you're just such a tornado of negative and hate, and you're just like, why did you fuck that person? They're like, what are you talking about? And like, what? And then you get so confused, and they just feed off that negativity, and you catch them all. They just love to attack my relationships for some reason. It's like all over it.
Oh, I haven't had that experience, thankfully.
Yeah, you don't want to. I also researched into it. What they'll do is, because they're beings that feed off negativity energy, and to get you super negative, so you're super potent for them, is they get into your mind when you're sleeping, and they give you these really bad dreams, really negative dreams. So you wake up super negative, and they do it to people that aren't even in relationships. They'll just go up to a person. This person will always have bad dreams, so she wakes up super negative and hateful all day, and they just leech on your soul, and they just like suck you dry of all your negativity and stuff.
Well, that explains a lot of what's wrong with humans.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them. Like when I meet someone that's super grumpy, I'm like, oh, you might have a dark archon in your life.
If you don't, you're a sitting meal for one.
Oh yeah. That's why I'm like, a lot of people that are like negative in general, I'm like, you need to like detox that shit, because you're gonna attract these negative beings. And a lot of people are like, well, how do I attract the positive ones? Like, you got to change your frequency to positivity. If you want the positive beings to come visit you, you got to raise your vibration and get rid of that negativity. So,
Well, what I do is I go into a shamanic trance, and then I have built my own little place in astral, and from the outside it looks like an asteroid with lots of warding. So it's got this bright red warding all over this rock, and there's only one way in, and I go in, slam the door behind me, have lots of shielding. And inside, I have a meadow and a creek and a weeping willow, and behind it, a whole oak forest. And I have a gazebo that it's actually a little bigger than a gazebo, but it's made into a bed, marble pillars, roof, bed inside with a purple blanket.
Sounds like a beautiful little place. It's your little place to get away from everyone, eh?
It's my place to rest in peace.
Yes. No, my place is it's just around like anything to do with positive, anything that's positive, animals, people, like serenity, nature walk, nature and animals for some reason bring me the most peace I've ever felt in my life, and that's my way of getting away from humans. I don't need to get away from animals, just humans.
um, well, I have a pair of pet cats, and one of them gets occasionally domineering. So,
I have 5 cats.
yeah. Do they fight over who's the alpha?
um, well, dad is not the alpha in this house. I am just their slave, so.
Yeah, we've already figured out that they own the house, they own the apartment. We're just allowed to pay the rent and feed them.
Yeah, they're my roommates. I live with them, and I'm just the guy that pays the bills and works in the cold when they're sleeping all day in the nice heated house.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah. But they're really what I notice about animals is like when I'm meditating or I'm traveling through the multiverse, they will always come to me and like will stay on this body until I get back into it. Like it's weird. Like they know if I'm out of my body. And sorry, my cat's playing in the vacuum here. Um, yeah, so I just, yeah, anyways, so before we go, because we're almost at 2 hours here and you said 2 hours
Okay.
max, what's going on in the States down there with you guys? Is there change coming on, or is this just another flop?
Well, the COVID was an attempt to take us into martial law, and
Continue.
so that failed because they didn't get the kill rate that they wanted. And then the DNC, the Democrats, decided to start the riot situation. And I know it was them because if you go to the Black Lives Matter website and check who they donate money to, it goes to Act Blue, which is the funding for the Democrats. So the Democrats are behind the current riots, and there have been people from both sides killed, so they should be held accountable for creating murder situations
Yeah,
and all the property damage. And what it is they're attempting to throw the election their direction. And if enough people understand who's been paying for it, because the masses are blaming Soros, and he came out and said it's not his doing. But what we've got is one side wants Trump, the other side wants anybody but Trump. And
who do
the
you want?
DNC, I would like to see somebody reasonable in the White House.
Don't you think
I
Trump was put into office to help get us through this?
I think Trump was put in the White House because he was acceptable to at least one of the factions behind the scenes. I hear a lot of stuff about what he's done, but I haven't seen much evidence for it.
I think Trump, from what I was privy to, I think Trump is the one that is getting it done. To just like what you said, like we've heard that he's done a lot of good, a lot of mass arrests, all this stuff, and with his tweets on Twitter, he's hinting towards it. But I you know, I think he is the white knight that the Americans need to get us through this. That's if it plays out to be that way. A lot of people don't like Trump because he's hated on so much, but I always remind people the person that's hated on so much, that's the guy you need to follow, because people can't get the people are hating on him as people that want to be in power. And I think he is the one that is, cleaning out the swamp, just like he says on Twitter. So I think he's
Well,
the
I haven't
good guy.
seen evidence of him cleaning up the swamp. I have seen evidence of the DNC pushing Agenda 21,
Hmm.
which UN Agenda 21 and UN Agenda 2030, especially 2030, involves a 30% population reduction.
How do you think they're going to
So,
do that? Do you think it's going to be the mass vaccinations?
yes.
Yeah, I always told humans, and humans that are listening to the show right now, and tell your friends, do not get the massive vaccinations over this COVID-19 thing. The massive vaccinations, from what me and Penny probably hear and feel, is that this will be the disease that slowly grows within us if we get these massive inoculations that will kill us in 2030, because the 2030 is supposed to be the big depopulation year.
Well, I've heard from folks in some of these groups, the secret groups, that they were actually expecting the COVID bug to be an 80% population reduction over 5 years, and that it has not met expectations. So this was a big disappointment to them. They had put a lot of money behind it, and now it's not meeting their expectations. So
Do you
they're going
think
to
people
have to
got
come.
involved because of that? Like other alien races got involved, and maybe it was supposed to be 80%, but alien races got involved and diluted
Um,
it or changed the outcome.
I think somebody got involved, and I'm not going to name names,
Yeah, we don't need
not
to know no
publicly.
names, but I think someone or something stepped in and definitely changed the outcome of this virus, because I'm
Yes.
pretty sure they had good numbers before releasing it. That proved that it would have 80% kill rate.
Yeah, someone did step in and put a stop to it, and there was a lot of anger that came forth from it. But they're not giving up; they're regrouping. So expect something else in the fall before our election in November.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's a very tricky slope, and I think you can tell there is evil and there is good fighting this back and forth. But it's also showing mankind how, like, say this virus is such a small virus, but how much it affected our economy in over 3 months, and how many people lost their jobs in companies and had to shut down for good.
Mm-hmm.
That they should learn that, if there was even a bigger one that lasted for even a year of isolation, like we barely lasted 3 months, how are we going to last even a bigger one? That's just a test.
Well, what I'm seeing is the people who were poor still are. The people who were rich are even more so. It's the people in between that are getting shafted by this. The
Hmm.
people who had their own businesses, employed people, provided jobs, provided services. These are the people who are getting the shaft, not the big businesses, and certainly not the people who are already poor.
Hmm.
Um, and this is just wrong. It's turning everybody into serfs. It's basically reinstating feudalism, where we have a ruling class and we have serfs and nothing in between. And this is not an acceptable outcome. And people should not be sitting back and letting it happen.
It's crazy though, from like a alien perspective, like such as myself, is like, so we're talking about money and the system. Money is just printed from trees, and that's just a number on a screen. Like literally, humans tomorrow could just stop going to work and not pay their taxes or bills, and we could change the society the next day, just because money is just illusion that separates the poor from the rich. And if humans just learned that, so we could change the system tomorrow. We wouldn't have to work these 9 to 5 slave jobs and pay all these taxes and interest rates and all these bank loans when money's printed from nothing. Like that's my hardest comprehension as being a human, is how humans can't just step away from the control system and change it overnight.
The trouble with that is that in the meantime, you have all of these people who are still dependent on the money system. Like, I rent. So if I decided to walk away from the money system, who's going to pay my landlady? And my landlady depends on my rent to pay her house payment.
Mm-hmm. Well, it has to be us
And
as a group, as a whole, as a society, that there would be no more
it
money for
has
anything.
it has to be all of us or none
Yeah,
of it.
I 100% agree with you, and that's the biggest trick in the world to get it done.
Yeah, you can't get, if you have a room full of 5 people, you cannot get any 2 of them to agree on anything.
You're very wise. That's so true. I'm like sitting here like the simple solution is don't go to work, pay taxes. But if you can't even get 5 people to do it, how are you supposed to get 8 billion people to do it?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
actually, I remember numbers around 9 billion people about 20 years ago. And the latest numbers that I've been hearing have been around 6 billion. So what's happened to those other 3 billion people?
Mining, selling, child trafficking, slaves trading.
Yeah, I know. And that's another topic people don't want to talk about.
No, it's not. It's like there's also another simple solution like people don't address is like we have off-world travel and spaceships and colonies on other planets. If our planet gets overpopulated, we could just transfer some of the people to other planets. But like they want control. The smaller population, the better. They want to go down to like I heard like 5 million people worldwide, which is a huge reduction by
500 million.
500
That's,
million. Okay.
yes, half a billion. So that is still an outrageously huge reduction.
Yeah. I guess time will through the next 10 years here. Anyways,
Yeah.
Penny, I want to say thank you for coming on the show. It's always lovely to talk to you. We've been talking over the years here, and I want to say love and light, and all the humans that are listening to this. Let's get the positive revolution going, and let's awaken your friends and family, and let's get this done. I'll talk to you guys all on the next episode. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, bye bye.